Welcome back to my YouTube channel on this resurrection of my Ford Capri Ghia 1979. Thank you for all the support being shown so far. This episode, I'm going to cover some of the loads of little jobs that I've been wanting to do around the car. Some of them a bit more cosmetic than what we've been doing to date. So first job was this replacement hazard switch. Every time I turned on the ignition, the hazards would come on, but I couldn't turn them off. Pretty sure it was either the switch or the relay, but bearing in mind they were working, I just couldn't switch them off. I thought it was the switch. So replacement switch, I pushed it in, and then just a quick walk around, make sure that it is indeed working, which they were, and then fitted it into the plastic retaining as it should be. Whilst I was on the subject of lights, thought I'd try them all out. Make sure that they were working. It's not something I looked at. Testing the brake lights there. Everything worked except the reverse lights, which is that to look at a future date. Next was a job just to sort of finish off the engine a little bit, fit this air filter that I bought, second-hand one, but looks, you'll see it in a moment, but I think looks quite smart. So held on with 4 little bolts. And obviously the filter itself, and of course the top plate, which is a pre-branded one, so that looks quite nice. Tighten that up. So a nice little job off the list, and another box out of my garage. The wipers were annoying me. Obviously the paint's flaked quite a bit, so fairly easy job to remove these. Give them a look of paint. Also missing the cover for the bolt there, so I'll address that as well. Same with the other side. Take that one off, and of course the back. It wasn't quite so badly flaked, but as well do all 3 in one go. Next up, remove the headlights. This inner headlight there is really fogged up, and this one is not, but does not match. It's an aftermarket one, so I'm going to replace those, but I'm also going to get the outer black ring powder coated. So really it's just about removal at this point, until the parts are sent away. So a couple of screws to hold it into the headlight bowl before it lifts out, and then obviously disconnect the wiring from the back. Nothing too difficult there. Same with the other side. Again, move the cabling. Next, on the front bumper. I want to remove this. Well, it's actually not secured properly onto the car. It's missing a couple of the brackets. So this end cap was connected to the sort of center steel bumper section. The other side wasn't. Just prying it off the clips, trying not to break it. And then there's 2 bolts sort of inside the inner wing that hold the bumper. I think they're called irons, onto the car. You can see the bumper getting loose as they get slackened off, and then same at the other side. And it's a case of pulling the bumper away. I'm just disconnecting the leads for the indicators there. Carefully pulling it away. Next was to try and straighten the front valance. It's taken a bash at some point, or a couple of bashes. So using a bit of skirting board to get a bit of an idea of what a straight edge would be. And then a bit of persuasion with the old hammer, try and knock it into shape. No panel beater, but figured I could get it looking a bit better than it does at the moment. These are quite expensive, and it's not a restoration, as I've said before, really just making the car presentable. Second hand ones are quite hard to pick up, so yeah, bit of bashing, bit of work with the dolly, and I got it looking not too bad. Didn't have any green paint, so I stuck on some black for now just to save it rusting where I've sort of been at it with a grinder. So get that sorted. There's a bit to patch in the left hand side yet as well. But overall, got it a bit straighter. That's sort of before and after, so I think it's a bit better. Next, we're on to the back bumper. So 4 bolts on the inside of the boot. Again, well, one end cap was missing, the other side wasn't properly attached, so just push that to one side and pull the bumper away. This bumper's in worse condition than the front, and there was quite a nasty bit. You could sort of see it behind the bumper that was sort of bubbling away there, but you couldn't really get to it with the bumper fitted. So with the bumper off, good opportunity to have a wee poke. One of the sort of few really bad bits of bodywork on this car. It's clearly had worked before. It's had the sort of lower quarter panel there replaced, and I believe that maybe that's part of the problem here, that it's been put over the top. Some old metal that was rotting away. So yeah, having a wee poke around with an old chisel there, try and get the worst of the soft stuff away. Just trying to work out how far back along the panel I have to go to get sort of good metal where the back bits actually are. See the hole right through there at the boots, so yeah, this is going to need a little bit of attention. Again, not a full restoration, but I'll get it welded up looking better than that. Then on the wheels, decided I was going to do a DIY refurb of these. They were really flaky. First attempt was power washer to see if I could remove the paint with that, which you can sort of see here I am having some success with. It certainly gets away the really flaky bits that were already bubbling. It wasn't quite as effective at removing the sort of black that had a decent key to the alloy wheel underneath. Certainly got some of it off. Also got me soaking wet in the process. My next attempt was using this sort of sandblasting attachment for the pressure washer. You've got the feed there coming from a bag of sand that sort of fires that through with the water. What I found with that is it wasn't really effective, because the power pressure, as soon as the power washer, as soon as it got up to pressure, just immediately released the pressure, hence the sort of pulsing effect I was getting. I couldn't hold it on for more than about a second at a time. I think it's just a safety thing with the power washer that doesn't think that it's operating correctly, and it's cutting off the motor. So it did get some more of it off, but not as much as I'd hoped. So next approach, some paint stripper, dabbing it on the wheel, letting it sit for about 10 minutes or so, let it activate, do its thing, rub it in a bit more, add some more, aggravate it basically. And it did come away. As you can see, it kind of bubbles up, just really slow going. The sort of center piece where the wheel studs and that go in, where it's relatively flat, was a lot easier. The bits between the spokes was pretty hard going, to be honest. I really wish I'd never started this. I should have just gotten them professionally refurbished, but you know, not looking for a show car. Figured I could clean them up, get them looking better than what they did, for a fraction of the price, so to speak. So that was the reason. Tried the wire brush and the drill again. Helps get rid of some of the smaller pieces that are sticking from the centre, but absolutely no use for the in between the spokes. Got there in the end. To a good few hours per wheel, and it wasn't not a perfect finish, not as good as a professional alloy refurbishment place would do, but good enough. So on with a coat of primer. Obviously, you let that dry before hitting it up with a black. Trying to get into all the nooks and crannies. That, and it was a pretty cold day. Struggling with the paint setting off, to be honest. It was sort of 2 or 3 degrees, so a little bit of extra help from the heat gun. Then once they were dry, obviously hit it with the gloss black. Again, number of kind of light coats, and it was just taking absolutely hours to dry. Full 24 hours in one case, one of the wheels, and went back out, and it was still sort of soft to touch. So not the best time of year for doing this. So we'll see how well it lasts, but it certainly looks better than what they did. And that's the kind of say finished results. They're not quite finished, but that's them. 3 out of the 4 painted, using my bumpers as a workbench. Then it was on to the wipers that we removed earlier, so giving them a lick of paint or primer at this point. It's the primer going on. Trying to do a decent job of that. Now here we go, there's paint going on now. Again, not a perfect finish. Time of year doesn't help. Paint's cold, the metal's cold. But it'll look a lot better than it did. That's a pink one on this time. And then to refit them to the car, once they dried, new wiper blades obviously, didn't put on the old ones. And trying to fit this cap to cover the screw. These are actually from a Land Rover, I believe, which according to the internet fit. I would beg to differ. They were a terrible fit. Looks better than not having one, but you can't really lift the arm without it sort of digging into the end piece. The second one I filed down a little bit, but yeah, definitely looked better, but not just a perfect fit. But that was them done. Then on the headlights that we took out earlier, so try to dismantle these to get the black rings, the sort of retaining rings off. I want to get them powder coated, and then fit my 2 new inner headlights, which will be done in a later video, but these are pretty rusty, as you can see. So there's quite a number of the screws gave up a good fight. Had to get the drill out, try and drill the screws off and buff the head of them off, and yeah, a little bit hard work getting all 4 free, but I did get there in the end. And with the other drill bit there. But but you got them off without damaging the rings, which was ultimately the aim. Next job on the cards was this gear lever. It's being cut. It's like a short shift one, if you like. So I've got a replacement here. Struggle to find this. This one's actually off a Granada, but it looked the same, so I thought we'd give it a go. Also, the gear knob is incorrect. In the earlier video, when I sort of drove the car forward a couple of feet and then tried to reverse it back, you might have noticed it took a while to get it into reverse. And the reason for that was I couldn't find reverse, and the reason I couldn't find reverse is because where the gear knob says it is and where it actually is two different places. So got a replacement gear knob, but also I want to put back on the original length sort of shifter. Turns out this one's actually been cut. You can see the weld there in the middle. But yeah, it's a bit notchy to go into gear. Maybe that's the gearbox, to be fair, but I don't think it being sort of a shorter length helps. So yeah, it's screwed into the top of the gearbox. I'm sure there's a special tool for this. The sort of piece is too flat sides, but I've got nothing to grip onto it, so it's a case of chopping it around with a hammer. Sort of big screwdriver here. And it did eventually. I say eventually, it wasn't actually that bad, but it did come loose. See it moving a bit there. So get the tension off of that. And then release the rest of it with my fingers. And then it was just a case of sort of pulling it up and out. And then refitting is the reverse. I used the sort of sort of plastic sphere off the original one on the replacement one. Gave this a lick of paint as well. Originally chrome. Don't know if the Capri ones were chrome, but the Granada clearly was. But it was in pretty poor nick, so some aluminium paint on it. So yeah, reverse of taking it out, screwed it on with my hands, and then chapped it round to get it hard. The only difference I could see between the Granada one and the Capri one is the size of the hole to the tunnel there. The rubber on that one doesn't actually fit the Capri, but I've got the original rubber there, albeit it's torn a little bit, but between the two of them, that helps. Next up, rear quarter lights, quarter windows. The ones in the car are pretty rusted up, and I'm not convinced sealing properly either. I've got a couple of leaks in the car that I need to deal with at some point. And there's a possibility, not convinced but not unconvinced either, that it could be coming in the driver side rear windows. So I've got two new replacement ones that were in the boot when I bought the car. Just giving them a rub down there to a little DA, give them a paint, and obviously mask it up with some old newspaper. And when I say old, it's 2015 if anybody's interested, so it's been in my drawer for a wee while. And same with this little dome cover that holds the sort of opening mechanism. Give that a wee rub down so that could get paint as well, before masking the rest of it up. Same with the other side. Then I'll be giving it a paint on my makeshift workbench. Just put a primer on, which went on quite nicely, to be honest. And then went on with the black, which didn't go on quite so nicely, didn't get quite the finish I wanted. I'm blaming the cold. I've done plenty of painting with rattle cans over the years, and it usually turns out better than this did, but it's still better than what's on the car at the moment, so it'll do for now. Again, I might come back to it in the summer, because to be honest, the frames around the doors and things could do with a paint as well. Back to wheels, so the black paint's dried up now. I'd done a terrible job of masking them up, kind of deliberately, to be honest, because I knew I was never ever going to be able to mask around this join neat. So I'd always intended to use my little sander to take off any excess and get a kind of clean line where the sort of curve of the wheel changes. So that's effectively what I'm doing on here with a sort of, can't remember, 800 grit bit of paper, I think it was, taking off the sort of overspray in black and trying to leave a clean line where the wheel changes direction. But yeah, I could have saved myself a bit of work by making a better job on the masking, to be honest, but you live and learn. So that's it, sort of cleaned up, sort of hand polished. And then what I did was I took a sort of metal polishing kit that I got from my orange Capri, because it's got sort of chrome finish alloys, and buffed up the metal a bit more, just to clean it up a bit more and get a bit more polish into the metal. To be honest, it'll save them hopefully marking so much, just with sort of water and outside dirt, etc. Make them a bit easier to clean. Needless to say, the drill slipped a couple of times on every single wheel, so there's the odd scuff onto the paintwork that I need a touch up, but better than it was. It's me. Well, I used a variety of different attachments, to be honest, to try and get into a different shape of the wheels. Going around the outside edge. Again, took a lot of time. Definitely would not start this refurb again. Flat wheels, yep, but this sort of spoke wheels, I think leave it for professionals next time. But once you've started and committed to something, it's difficult to, or it seems a bit pointless to give up. So I was determined to see it through. And then final sort of clean and polish with the cloth. And overall, pretty happy with the end result, to be honest. See what you think. In terms of tyres, the tread looks really, really good. So you could say they're absolutely fine. But I'm not daft, and if you have a look at this date code 291, that in the year 2000 it changed a 4-digit code, so that's actually pre-2000, which means it's the 29th week of the first year, so effectively they're 1991 tyres. So new set of tyres in order. They've arrived, but they've not yet been fitted. That's all 4 of them back on the car, albeit still waiting on tyres and replacement, wheel studs and the likes, but the main bit done. And it was on to refitting or replacing the back windows that I painted earlier. So piece of trim removed on the inside there, and the 2 screws that will hold the clip in. And then it's a case of sort of try to prise the glass with the frame away from the B pillar, I've done this a few times in the past, but this is the first time I've ever had the glass try to sort of escape from the clamp of the metal. It just shows how rusty it is and not a secure hold, so it's used a bit of a large screwdriver to prise it out, so I wasn't left with the glass in my hand without the frame. For the top, the bottom seemed to be attached not too bad. Trying to carefully pull it out so I don't damage the rubbers. And then the newly painted one, slide it in, put a little bit of grease onto the rubber just to slide it in. If you're not careful, you can sort of push the rubber grommet right into the post and you'll never see it again. So learned from a mistake on that one a while ago. So, and then you just get it in position and re-secure the two screws that hold the sort of piece there at the back. And that's one side done. This is the other side, also pretty rusty. So just loosen off the two screws on the inside of the boot. And then I went to remove it like the other side, but it's actually completely rusted away. There was no hinge at the top there, so it was only really holding on with one. So pulled that out. Then of course I had to try and get the rest of the hinge, the window frame out of the rubber. It was kind of powder form near enough, a couple of cross stair bits. But yeah, the new one wouldn't sit in properly if that wasn't cleaned out, so it took a few minutes to do that, and then reinstall this window in exactly the same manner. Top one's really slack, probably because I've been at it with a screwdriver, but it's absolutely fine. Obviously re-secure that, and this is the fending window. You can see the sort of bit missing there completely compared to the bottom there where you've got the bit of the hinge. Then the final bit for this episode, since we didn't actually look at it last time, was to lower the car down and see what it looks like without these lowering blocks on, so I can make a decision whether I'm not going to cut the U-bolts. Fortunately, with the tyre so flat, couldn't get the jack out, but yeah, it actually looks alright. It looks kind of level, so I think I'll probably just leave it like that. Still got to get the tyres, centre caps, but that's brought you up to speed with where we're at. Thanks for watching.